MinaLima aus London. Herzlich willkommen. Also, MinaLima sind Miraphora Mina und Eduardo Lima zusammen MinaLima. Und die beiden sind, wie gesagt, mit dem Hogwarts Express aus London gekommen. Deswegen sprechen sie hauptsächlich Englisch. Wir werden also diese Veranstaltung heute auf Englisch machen. Wenn ihr etwas nicht versteht, dann sagt doch bitte Bescheid. Dann kann ich das nämlich nochmal kurz zusammenfassen, was die beiden gesagt haben auf Deutsch. Aber ich denke, bei so vielen Harry Potter-Fans werden die allermeisten bestes Oxford-Englisch beherrschen und verstehen. Okay, so, MinaLima, welcome to Frankfurt, welcome to the book fair, so happy you could make it. It's been 20 years you've been working in the wizard world, working with Harry Potter, and it's probably, you know, so many people, when they think about the Marauder map, about the first letter that Harry receives when he's invited to Hogwarts, what they see is what you created. How was your first contact with this strange wizard boy?
You can start here because you were there from day one.
His start is more romantic than mine actually, but I was working with the production designer, the amazing Stuart Craig, who is responsible for all the sets. I was working for him on other films, and really this came along as the next project. And believe it or not, you won't believe it because you're all here because you have a long legacy and relationship with Harry Potter, but we did not know who Harry Potter was or what this phenomenon would become. So I started working for him for a 6-month term, which was agreed. Maybe he said, let's see how it goes, 6 months. And 23 years later, I'm here. And a year later, Parrot sent one of those letters to Eduardo in Brazil.
Oh yes, I moved to the UK in 2001, and Mina was the first person I met to kind of find out about how to work in the film industry in the UK. And she said, "Oh, come to Leeds and bring your portfolio and let's see what's happened." And when I met this amazing person here, we kind of connected straight away. And I started working as a work experience for a couple of weeks, not get paid or anything. And I made myself very and from that day we have been working together ever since.
It's a strange journey, this whole Harry Potter universe is done, because it started out as a book. Then you helped making the films. For the films, you made a lot of books. A lot of fake books that appeared in the film. And now you're making books. Again,
in the real world.
In the real world. And it's so interesting how this goes and comes around. It's almost magic. Well, how did you, why did you go back into the world of paper and book and things you can touch and things you can read from the glamorous Hollywood film world?
Before we answer the question, I think we need to declare that we are absolutely crazy about books. And we were even worried when books were kind of dying, and we were like, oh God, what's going to happen? They're all digital. But we are, and I used to do one thing that I used to go to charity shops and to find old books and rescue the books. And loads of the books that we bought as a reference books is the books that you see on Harry Potter and the films. And but I remember the first book we've done for the Muggle world, because when we do books for the Wizarding World, it's not a little bit fake. We only design maybe 5 to 10 pages, and we repeat it throughout the book because you don't need to design the entire book. But in the real world it was different. And the first book was the film Wizardry, Harry Potter film Wizardry. And I think it took us a long time because we were treating that book as a prop. But that's why that book was such a success, I think, because of that, the way we treated the book. But yes, now being invited to create the world of Harry Potter for the books, it's been fantastic.
It's kind of a full circle.
Exactly, yeah.
And to answer your question about the glamour of film, well, first of all, let's just say there is no glamour on that side. But actually what there is the tangible and the tactile, the thing that you mentioned about books. And for us, creating props for the stories is exactly that. It's like, how can we bring from the page to life through the physical? And so our relationship with making and materials and different materials, experimenting, exploring, is always central to our work, even though we are now much more proficient in digital use of Photoshop and Illustrator and so on. It's everything centered around making and what your hands can do and how you can then translate that. So a lot of the images you see will start off as drawings or in making X or the pop-ups in the books that you see, it's all about making. So that's very central to how we think always. Even typography is for us an image rather than something that the computer would generate as a font. So long answer to you. By the way, is it okay speaking English? Are we going too fast?
Yeah. Is it okay?
Thank you. We weren't expecting an applause for speaking.
But that picture there is quite nice to illustrate that the way we do books for the film, there's a long process because we have to make the design, the concept, go to the director, check with him if he's happy to know that book is telling the right moment of that, not at that moment in the film, and after we start having fun. We choose the leather, we choose all the finishes, and after the main thing is to do the aging. That is, for example, Build the Bar, the book that has been with Dumbledore's family for years and years. We needed to make sure that you, the audience, believes that that book has been with that family for over, I don't know, 200 years or something. So we needed to age. So it's kind of destroying the book a bit. Kind of like and painting and...
With thought?
Yes.
So what you're doing is you're sort of fast-tracking time through the way that it's finished. So if you go now to an old bookshop or a library, you see how a book is aged, where and why. For us, the why is really, really important in everything we create. You know, why the typeface, why the kind of aging, why the personality of a prop. So that as an audience, you don't have to spend too long thinking about it. You just believe that it is that one.
That's why going to the charity shops and find those old books also helped us to even to see how books were old and see how the oil of your hands and how then is the leather. So everything has to be really properly think through. Yeah.
So you've put a lot of work and a lot of detail into making these 3 beautiful books, and you've also put a lot of work and detail into making graphic elements for the films. But these books don't look like the films. You had to kind of reinvent this whole universe. How did you go about doing this?
Well, they could not look like the films because they're not a Warner Brothers production. It's a completely new project. So to begin with, there was that. And then the other thing that we had to confront, which was completely new for us, was in the films we have a very niche role, which is just to think about that top layer of detail through the props. But of course, when you're designing a book, you suddenly are becoming a costume designer, a head of photography, a lighting designer, a scenic designer, the casting. You have to decide who the people are, what they're going to look like. So the responsibility becomes much broader, and at the same time, the challenge is that you have to put it in a space like that. So it's a kind of contradiction of everything we've experienced before.
Out of these different roles, which was the most fun and which was the most difficult role?
For the books, you mean? I think that, I don't know if you say it in German, but like the mise en scène, you know, the sort of thinking about how to describe a scene in its totality, whether it's through the, for example, you know, how do we communicate the drama of the moment to the audience? And for us, even the prop making and this, for us, everything centers from feeling rather than thinking. There's no logic about what a prop should look like, what the broader's map should look like. There's no logic behind how the daily prophet should appear. It's about bringing to life that magic that she's described in sometimes in not much detail, but it's about the emotion more than about the sort of thinking.
Well, one thing that's different in the films is that we had a little bit more freedom to kind of make things a little bit different, because it needs to work for the camera and for not the screen. So as Mina said, the Morodes map, the description in the book is just a square piece of parchment. But for the film, it would not work like that. So we had to elaborate to make it a little bit more complex and a bit more magical. But for the books, we need to be loyal to the words. So we had to really do exactly how she describes everything.
I will just translate the French word you used in your mise en scène. Also mise en scène ist die Inszenierung. Die Inszenierung der einzelnen Bilder und Doppelseiten. So, I don't know if you've seen these beautiful books, but they're so full of details and so full of little nice ideas and opulent pages and little things that are almost hidden between pages. It's almost unimaginable that two people can do this on their own.
Damn. We could have taken all the credit, but no, you're absolutely right. We have an amazing team. One of our we didn't have a big plan for Studio MinaLima when we started when we finished the films in 2010.
Yeah.
We founded our Studio MinaLima. But one thing we knew we wanted to do was broaden our creative opportunities. So we didn't know that it was going to end up in publishing or in working for theme parks, but we did know that one way you needed to do that was to build a team of the best talent there. And we started with one assistant in 2010, and now we have about 20 designers, not all working on the same project, but there might be sort of between 4 and 6 people working on a book at any one time, whether it's the classics or the Harry Potter books. But everything is led by us because we're control freaks. Disclaimer. So we always want to be involved in everything, but the reason you see MinaLima credited on the cover is because it is the expression of our studio as a team, and they are fantastic, and we're very grateful to have such talent.
And the good thing that 98% of the team, they are all Harry Potter huge fans. Usually we go downstairs on the design floor, and they are listening to the Harry Potter all the time. It's fantastic.
But not your friend from before, unfortunately,
Yeah.
Stephen Fry, so we don't forget him.
And the good thing as well, because of course me and you, we get a little bit old and they get a bit forgetful, so to have all those amazing people that they can remember everything. Even in the films, sometimes we will get confused with which film we did that, and they straight away that number 3, so they know everything, so it's fantastic.
Doesn't anyone else get confused between all those
I
seven?
don't think they do.
No.
Wer ist ab und zu verwirrt, was bei Harry Potter in welchem Band wo vorkommt? Come on. We're the only ones. So you decided to do this amazing book and publishing project, and probably you reread Harry Potter. What was your impression after 20 years of reading this again? How did you?
Well, I think it was, of course, when we're doing the films, we have the script version, which is kind of a shorter version of the books, as you know. But what's been so brilliant, and I think probably why everybody's still here, is that there's the way that it's written allows your imagination to build its own visuals, its own emotions, its own dramas, its own solutions, and that never goes away if the writing is good. So for us to revisit the books, but with a different creative brief, really completely different from the publisher, was the impetus to create was still there.
Yes.
You know, and actually that's the same for if we're working on a project for the theme parks, or if we're working for packaging, or for any sort of Wizarding World project. Some people do ask us, which is kind of a weird question, do you ever get bored with working in the same kind of field? And it's like, no, because there's always a different way to shape those fundamental pieces of story that were established in the books. So my point is, if the story is good, there's always something you can do with it.
So every time we start a new book, the entire team that's going to work in that book, they read the book. But one thing that I like to do is I like to edit, to do the book map. Basically, is to decide where all the illustrations will go and which parts are going to be illustrated. And that is a really hard task, because you want to illustrate the entire book, basically. And you can't do that, because otherwise the book will be that. And after it becomes a very lovely discussion with the publishers, which ones we should do and which ones we should cut. And also, and the team as well, like, oh no, we have to illustrate this, we have to illustrate that. And it's a lovely fight in the beginning to choose everything that needs to be illustrated. So it's fun, but it takes a little bit of time.
If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you will be notified when another video is ready for you to view. And until then, stay magical.